If you walked into a high-end luxury dealership today with $1 million in liquid cash, you would quickly realize that your money is practically worthless. New digital exotics are rolling off assembly lines in record numbers, yet the people who can easily afford them are walking away. They are abandoning dealership waiting lists, turning their backs on 1,000 horsepower hybrid monsters, and buying 30-year-old sports cars instead. To the casual observer, this makes absolutely no sense. A modern supercar can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in less than 2.5 seconds. It features carbon fiber construction, active aerodynamics, and digital displays. A sports car from the mid-1990s, by comparison, is objectively slow. It makes a fraction of the horsepower, lacks basic traction control, and uses an old-school key instead of a glowing start button. Yet a fascinating financial flip has occurred. A brand new exotic will lose 20 to 30% of its value the exact moment the rear tires clear the dealership curb. Meanwhile, an analog classic from 30 years ago is quietly appreciating at a rate that outpaces traditional index funds. The primary driver behind this massive cultural shift comes down to a harsh reality. Modern luxury car manufacturers have fundamentally broken the ownership experience. Dealership networks have transformed buying a vehicle into a grueling psychological game of forced loyalty. If you want the privilege of purchasing a limited edition Italian hypercar, you cannot simply show up and buy it. You are forced into an artificial tier system. First, you must buy a standard SUV that you do not want. Then you must buy an entry-level convertible, finance it through the manufacturer's proprietary bank at an inflated interest rate, and sell it back to the exact same dealer at a massive loss 6 months later. Only after losing 6 figures on depreciating models will the dealership consider placing your name on a waiting list for a flagship car. Even if you play the allocation game perfectly and secure a top-tier build slot, you do not truly own the vehicle. Major manufacturers now force buyers to sign right-of-first refusal contracts. If you decide to sell your new exotic within the first 1 or 2 years of ownership, you are legally obligated to sell it back to the dealer at original MSRP. If you break this contract to secure a market premium from a private buyer, the manufacturer will blackball you globally. You will never be allowed to buy a factory-fresh car from that brand again. Ultra-high net worth individuals are fiercely independent people who despise being controlled by corporate gatekeepers. They are realizing that spending millions of dollars to be treated like a secondary applicant is a terrible trade-off. They are taking their capital to the open classic market, where money still talks. In the vintage space, there are no corporate compliance checks, no mandatory trade-ins, and no restrictive legal contracts. You wire the funds, the carrier drops off the vehicle, and it belongs to you completely. This rebellion is fueled by a profound shift in how we define automotive value. We have entered the era of peak digital isolation. Modern performance vehicles are no longer mechanical machines. They are computers on wheels. Electric power steering filters out the texture of the road. Digital stability systems calculate grip thousands of times per second, correcting driver errors before they even occur. When a car has 1,000 horsepower, the computer has to manage the experience because a human brain cannot process inputs that quickly. The driver becomes a mere passenger, a passive observer pulling a plastic paddle to initiate a gear change that occurs in milliseconds. It is incredibly efficient, but it is completely devoid of emotion. This digital saturation explains why 30-year-old modern classics are skyrocketing in value. The 1990s represented the golden pinnacle of mechanical engineering. Manufacturers possessed advanced metallurgy and computer-aided design to build bulletproof engines, but they did not yet have the technology to isolate the driver from the asphalt. A classic from this era features a hydraulic steering rack that vibrates in your palms, telegraphing the exact limits of front-wheel traction. It features a naturally aspirated engine that requires you to rev it to the red line to find the power. Most importantly, it features a gated manual transmission. When you shift gears in a vintage exotic, you feel the mechanical linkage clicking into place. You have to balance the clutch pedal perfectly, match the engine RPM yourself, and respect the vehicle's limits. If you make a mistake, the car does not bail you out with a software patch. It spins. This creates an intoxicating sense of danger, accomplishment, and genuine human engagement that money simply cannot buy in a modern showroom. The financial math behind this trend is even more compelling than the emotional appeal. New supercars are currently facing unprecedented depreciation because they are being treated like consumer electronics. When a manufacturer releases a new hybrid powertrain, the previous generation instantly feels outdated. It is identical to how a 2-year-old smartphone loses its appeal when the newer model debuts. Wealthy buyers are watching their brand new exotics bleed value on the secondary market because the next software update or facelift is always right around the corner. The vintage market operates on the exact opposite economic principle. Nobody can ever build another 1990s classic. The supply is permanently fixed, and the pool of global buyers is expanding rapidly. The generation that grew up with posters of these analog legends on their bedroom walls is now in their peak earning years. They have the liquidity to chase the objects of their childhood desire, creating an aggressive demand curve against an absolute ceiling of availability. There is a shocking valuation flip occurring right now that perfectly illustrates this dynamic. A pristine, low-mileage manual sports car from 30 years ago is frequently trading hands for significantly more money than a brand new flagship from the exact same manufacturer. Collectors are willing to pay a massive premium for purity. They recognize that these older machines represent a specific moment in human history that will never happen again due to modern safety and environmental regulations. Pop-up headlights, low belt lines, ultra-thin pillars, and lightweight naturally aspirated engines are legally dead. This brings us to the crucial concept of peak usability. A modern exotic is so wide, low, and incredibly fast that it is virtually impossible to enjoy on a public road. Stepping on the throttle for more than 3 seconds means running out of usable asphalt instantly. The front splitters scrape on standard driveway inclines, and the aggressive styling attracts an immense amount of unwanted public attention. A 30-year-old modern classic is remarkably compact. It fits comfortably inside a standard highway lane. You can use all the gears, hear the engine scream, and push the mechanical limits of the chassis without breaking the legal speed limit by triple digits. It blends in seamlessly with everyday traffic, offering a sophisticated, understated level of luxury that resonates with old money. The truly wealthy are no longer interested in showing off with loud, digital status symbols. They are searching for a return to genuine mechanical mastery, financial preservation, and the pure, unfiltered joy of driving.